What if I told you that the person next to you right now might have wounds that you can't see that affect every choice they make? That coworker that always says they're sorry for everything, your friend who has trouble trusting people, or maybe the person you see in the mirror. They can all be walking around with trauma that they don't talk about, that is affecting their whole lives. Today, we're going to look closely at 10 signs that someone may be struggling with unresolved trauma. But here's what makes this different from what you've heard before. These aren't the indications that everyone talks about. These are the silent patterns, the small things that conceal in plain sight. You might be surprised by some of these. Some people could feel too familiar. Before we start, I need you to know something very important. Trauma is not just defined by our experiences. It's what happens to us that makes us feel this way. Not all of the large dramatic events leave the lasting scars. Sometimes it's the little wounds that build up over time, the things that appear regular but aren't. The first trait is the need to always be in control. Let's start with something that looks strong but frequently hides underlying weakness, the drive to control everything around them. People who have repressed trauma often become control freaks, not because they are inherently orderly, but because their environment used to feel entirely out of control. When someone goes through trauma, especially as a child, their brain learns that things that are unpredictable are dangerous. They strive to control every part of their world as they grow up. They plan what to say before they say it. They practice situations that might never arise, and they really get upset when plans alter without warning. It's not about being picky or having high expectations. This is a nervous system that is still on guard against a threat that may not be there anymore. It's not always possessive for someone to want to know where you're going, when you'll be back, and who you'll be with. They might be striving to feel safe in a world that taught them that safety was an illusion. Trait number 2. Pretending to be strong while you're really numb. People in our society often appreciate this, but it can also be a warning sign. The person who never seems to feel anything strongly. People call them level-headed or rock solid. They don't cry when they watch movies. They don't get excited when they hear excellent news. And they deal with catastrophes with an almost spooky calm. It's good to be able to control your emotions, but being completely emotionless is usually not good. When someone has had a lot of bad feelings in the past, such abuse, neglect, or other traumatic events, their brain may determine that the best thing to do is to feel nothing at all. It's like their emotional thermostat broke and stayed on neutral. They've learnt that having strong feelings can cause significant issues, so they've inadvertently cut off their emotional spectrum. The sad thing is that when you numb the bad feelings, you also dull the good ones. They don't want to be emotionally distant. The only way they know how to protect themselves is by doing this. The third trait is the pitfall of trying to please everyone. Now let's talk about something that seems nice but is often rooted in dread. People who are always trying to please others. The individual who can't say no. Who says sorry for things that aren't their fault. Who would prefer keep quiet about their problems than risk making someone else angry. Being nice to people after trauma isn't what it's about. It's about staying alive. People who have learnt that other people's anger or disappointment can lead to abandonment, rejection, or worse, create an internal warning system that goes off whenever they feel possible conflict. They become experts at reading rooms and knowing what other people want before they ever say it. They give up their own wants so easily that they don't even recognize what they need anymore. The tiring aspect is that no amount of pleasing ever feels like enough, because the fear that drives it can never be truly fulfilled by getting praise from others. Fourth trait, being hypervigilant and calling it intuition. This is one that people commonly get wrong. The individual who seems to know a lot about people and circumstances. They can feel the tension in a room as soon as they walk in. They see small facial movements that most people overlook. They appear to know who to trust and who to stay away from. Some of this may be normal sensitivity, but being overly aware of everything is often a sign of trauma. Your brain gets really skilled at reading danger signals in your environment when your safety depends on it. But it also can't turn off this scanning mode. These people are always on the lookout for hazards, even in places that are safe. Their nervous system makes them pay attention to everything because it thinks that missing something could be detrimental. Most people can't comprehend how mentally draining it is to be this vigilant all the time. It's like having a security system that never stops working even while you're in the safest place on Earth. The fifth trait is the need to achieve. Let's talk about something that our culture sometimes promotes but can actually mean a lot of pain: the never-ending quest for success and achievement. The person who can't relax and always needs to be doing something and who judges their worth by how much they do. For a lot of people who have been through trauma, success is a means to show how valuable they are. In a world that used to make them feel like they were useless, they learned early on that love and acceptance can depend on how well they did. So they always try to earn the safety and affection they never felt they had, no matter what. The awful irony is that no matter how successful you are, you can never fill the hole that trauma left in you. They might do amazing things, but the voice within their head that pushes them is never happy. They're running away from a hurt they can't escape, attempting to show voices from their past that they might not even be listening to anymore, that they are worth anything. Number 6. Having trouble with limits. This may seem like a contradiction. People who have buried trauma often have trouble with boundaries in ways that appear utterly different to each other. They could be quite strict about some rules but not have any at all in other areas. Some people who have been through trauma become fortress-like, keeping everyone at arm's length because being close to someone used to entail danger. Some people become completely open, unable to say no, or keep their own space since they never learnt they could. A lot of people go back and forth between these two extremes, which makes things hard for both themselves and the people around them. The common thread is that trauma can make it hard to feel safe and good about yourself, which is necessary for healthy boundaries. It can be very hard to set healthy boundaries when someone learned early on that their needs don't matter, or that they couldn't trust other people. They either defend themselves from everyone or no one at all. The prison of perfectionism is trait number 7. Having high standards isn't what perfectionism after trauma is about. It's about attempting to stay away from being criticized, turned down, or punished. When someone learns that making mistakes makes them feel ashamed, angry, or alone, their brain comes up with a simple solution: don't make mistakes. But trying to be perfect is tiring and impossible in the end. These people make goals for themselves that no one else can reach, and then they feel like failures when they don't reach them. They put off projects because they're scared of making something that isn't flawless. They repeatedly rework their work because they don't think it's good enough. The saddest aspect is that their need for perfection often keeps them from enjoying learning and growing. When everything has to be perfect the first time, there's no place for the messy, beautiful process of being human. They're trying to go to safety by being perfect, but you can't get to safety by being perfect. Number 8 is having interpersonal patterns that reoccur. This one could be the most sad. The inclination to unintentionally replicate familiar dynamics, even when such dynamics are detrimental. Someone who was neglected can keep picking companions who aren't emotionally available. Someone who was controlled could end up in relationship after relationship when their freedom is at risk. This isn't being a masochist or making a bad choice. The brain is trying to heal previous scars by putting you in situations that are familiar to it. They are hopeful that this time things would turn out differently. This time they'll be able to make the person who isn't there love them or show the controller that they deserve to be free. But repeating trauma patterns doesn't help them heal. They heal by being recognized and making a decision. People who don't understand why they're drawn to certain dynamics will keep ending up in different versions of the same terrible story, asking why they can't find healthy love. The 9th trait is the helper complex. This may seem unselfish, but it usually comes from a lot of grief. The uncontrollable want to help fix or save everyone around them. The person who is always there for you when you need them, who takes on other people's issues as their own, and who feels responsible for everyone's emotional well. This helper complex frequently happens when someone is compelled to take care of someone else too soon, or when they discover that their worth comes from what they can do for others instead of who they are. They could have been the child who took care of a parent who drank too much, or the one who helped the family get along. The issue is that assisting others all the time can be a method to avoid dealing with their own misery. They don't have to deal with their own problems since they are too busy with other people's. They may also instinctively select those requiring assistance, since it provides familiarity and a sense of purpose, although hindering the formation of relationships founded on mutual support, rather than rescue dynamics. Trait number 10 is always feeling different. Last but not least, let's talk about something that is hard to see from the outside, but very real on the inside. A constant feeling of being essentially different from everyone else. Not different in a good way, but wrong. Like they're observing life from behind glass, they know the rules, yet they never feel like they belong. This emotion generally arises from growing up in places where their normal reactions were always penalized or invalidated. They changed so much to fit in with what was required that they forgot who they really were. They learned how to fit in, but they never really felt like they did. Even though they are successful, well-liked, and accomplished, they secretly believe that people would turn them down if they actually know them. Because being oneself once wasn't safe or acceptable, they feel that they're always playing a version of themselves instead of being themselves. It's not about figuring out what's wrong with yourself or someone else when you learn about these features. It's about seeing how trauma may affect our daily lives in small ways. The individual who looks like they have everything together can be battling fights you can't see. The strongest people don't often look like they are carrying the heaviest things. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos about psychology, healing, and how people act. Thanks to your support, I can make more videos like this one. I'd want to know what you think. Which of these attributes caught you off guard the most? You might have seen more subtle signs of buried trauma that I didn't include here. Please leave your thoughts in the comments below. Realizing that we're not the only ones going through what we're going through might sometimes be the best thing for us. If you found this useful, you might want to see my last video about gaslighting tactics. In that video we spoke about how people who are manipulative employ psychological tricks to make others doubt their own reality. It goes perfectly with what we're talking about today because people who are healing from trauma need to know how to spot manipulation. Thanks for watching. And don't forget that your history doesn't control your future. Knowing it can set you free.